Next up, alumni activism is anti-Semitic. I want to say that again. Next up, alumni activism is anti-Semitic. You know, I used to think that if I was going to make an inflammatory statement like that one, I would have to provide some kind of evidence or justification for it. Ryan Vanderhook, one such Next Up alumni in their coast-to-coast network, has repeatedly demonstrated that such thinking is passé within progressive circles. Mr. Vanderhook performed in a very provocative video a few weeks ago wherein he described our activism as either anti-woman or anti-female, and he said that we needed to focus our attentions on building things instead of just hating people. He provided zero justification for either of those statements. He just asserted them and left it at that. After I pointed out a few of the inconsistencies in Ryan's first video, he made a video clarifying his position on things. His new, clarified position still includes lying about men's rights Edmonton.
Ran into him downtown a couple weeks ago and he asked me if I had any feelings on the MRAs who disrupted the Slut Walk here in Edmonton in July. They did disrupt it, let's not gild lilies.
By no stretch of the imagination did we disrupt the Slut Walk. They had a rally at the legislature grounds, then they marched all the way to Churchill Square where we positioned ourselves. We stood well out of their way as 150 slut walkers marched into the Taste of Edmonton food festival that was currently being held in Churchill Square, chanting, yelling, and giving a speech through a megaphone. Now, I'm not saying that the slut walkers disrupted the Taste of Edmonton, because nothing got disrupted. No vendors lost any business over it, as far as I can tell. Just like the slut walkers did everything they wanted to do, and we did nothing to stop them. We did not disrupt anything. Then he says this.
The video also made some people angry, mostly heterosexual white males who identify as men's rights activists. Made them pretty damn angry.
Ryan, the only angry criticisms of your video that I know you to be aware of are in the comments section of our YouTube video. And I don't know how you can determine a commenter's race, sex, or sexual orientation based on their YouTube comments. But Ryan, I can prove that you made some women pretty angry too. My rebuttal to your first video was featured on AVFM, and I know some of the commenters on that were women because they're well-known contributing editors to that site.
Good grief. Self-esteemer plus feminism equals what the fuck ever that was. Either that, or it was an outtake from Idiocracy. I'd feel sorry for him if he weren't so arrogant. He doesn't want sympathy, though. He wants to be praised for his spectacular display of willful ignorance. I left more than one critical comment on the video, the first relating to the content and the others relating to the use of comment moderation to stifle discussion. As far as I know, some of my comments got through moderation, but the ones implying Doug Brinkman, the owner of the channel, was less than courageous for setting comments to approval did not. Needless to say, all of them disappeared when Brinkman disabled comments. Vanderhook was way out of line. Hard to say whether he's got the integrity to admit he's wrong about most of what he said. Maybe. Probably not.
But Ryan did apologize for some of what he said. To YouTube.
So first off, please forgive me, YouTube, for not having thought to more carefully articulate before gunning my mouth.
Ryan, you didn't make 2 videos lying about YouTube. You made 2 videos lying about men's rights Edmonton. Apologize to us. Then Ryan goes on to express admiration for Dr. Farrell, while in the same breath calling the physical blockade against his lecture a non-successful disruption.
If gender issues are something you see as important in today's society, I strongly recommend watching his lecture from the University of Toronto, which was unsuccessfully disrupted by feminist extremists.
Just to review, 2 guys holding signs is a disruption, and a huge mob of people physically blocking doors and interfering with people's plans is an unsuccessful disruption. Unsuccessful only because they were removed by police. Next, notice how Ryan pins what happened in TO on feminist extremists. They're totally nothing like the awesome feminists he knows. Well, that's bullshit too. The protest was endorsed by the Canadian Union of Provincial Employees as part of the U of T Coalition Against Sexism. One of the protesters told a camera that she was there as part of her women's studies group, and right at the front of the line, where the protesters confronted police, was Danielle Sandu. She was the president of the U of T Students' Union at that time. They weren't fringers or radicals, Ryan. They were as mainstream as it fucking gets. And if I'm somehow mistaken, and these people represent a totally different kind of feminism from the kind that your totally awesome feminist friends represent, who are they? These feminists that the U of T protesters don't speak for have not identified themselves. I'm unaware of any section of the feminist movement that has condemned those actions.
Eric Duckman once told me that he doesn't see a problem using words like nigger, fag, or retard. He also doesn't see the connection between him being okay with this and him being a white heterosexual with full mental and physical capacities.
That's right. I don't. I explained as much last year on another channel in a video called Niggers, Faggots, and Retards. I'll put a link to that in the low bar. But since it has nothing to do with the discussion, that's all I'm going to say about that. Hey, remember in his first video where Ryan said that we should actually build things instead of just hating people? Well, in my response, I told him what we had done to the end of building a DV shelter for men. I guess he forgot about that because he goes on to make the same assertion in this video, but a little bit more pointed.
Also an interesting idea that comes up in feminist literature and feminist action, which I haven't seen so much in male action, is the idea of praxis. Praxis is the balance between thinking and doing, and saying and being, thought and action. I see lots of feminists in the community getting their grind on up to their elbows, in prisons, turning trowels, obstructing undue legal forces, like on the front lines, basically. I don't see MRAs really, outside of raining on a parade, metaphorically speaking, at Churchill Square. I don't see MRAs out doing that.
If you don't see us doing it, Ryan, it's because you haven't looked at our website. 3 days before you made that statement, we posted an update on Tom Mattey's family court issue. Tom's very well-documented case is perfectly demonstrative of the kind of anti-father bias in the family courts today. So much so that he had enough evidence for an appeal, which, if he'd won, would have served as a precedent other lawyers could refer to show that this anti-father bias exists in the Canadian family court apparatus. Knowing that he was drained of funds, his legal opposition had placed a surety on him, which meant he had to come up with another $5,000. We connected him with AVFM, and they had him as a guest on their radio show to talk about his case and his need for donations. Karen Strawn, one of those straight white men that apparently comprises the vast majority of our movement, asked her YouTube audience to donate, and we raised the money in a couple of days. We even had $1,000 extra. Some of that we put towards the Earl Silverman thing, some we held on to, and the rest we gave to Tom so he could have some spending money while he visited his kids in Thailand for the first time in years. And a couple of days after the Slut Walk, we hosted a talk by Dr. James Brown on the topic of boys falling behind in education. You can see the whole thing on our site. And we connect guys to a support group for people going through family court hell. This group is not anti-feminist, and it's not just for men.
And then I know as well as he that there's some twists of truth and gentle bends of hypocrisy in the video response.
Like what, Ryan? Be specific. Don't just make an assertion and leave it at that. Articulate what these twists of truth and gentle bends of hypocrisy are.
I also offered to appear in a video for Men's Rights Edmonton along with him, fielding any questions or to have a conversation about men's rights and where it fits into the broader social movement, even to debate feminist viewpoints as a man, which I have very limited say on. And he flat out rejected the offer. He said he did not want me in a video on their channel.
If that's true, Ryan, why did I put you in a video on my channel? I declined to do the live thing because after your first epic video, I wanted you to make another one, and you did not disappoint. I'd like to remind Ryan that in his first video, he said he wanted to work together to create domestic violence shelters for men with or without their children. I described the work we've done, Ryan. That whole working together thing is just waiting on you. Otherwise, we can keep working at it and you can keep not working at it, and we won't have worked together due to your inaction. Ryan, I've given you the gears pretty good here on YouTube, so if you want to use the fact that I'm a jerk as an excuse to not make a third video where you actually tell everyone exactly what you plan to do to help make a men's DV shelter happen, both Paul Elam and Victor Zen have offered to do interviews with you. Paul is the founder of AVFM, and he invited you to come be a guest on Red Pill Radio. Victor Zen is a really nice, non-confrontational guy. Check out his YouTube channel. And as always, I'd like the audience to see the entire video that Ryan made that I'm responding to, so you can see whether or not I'm taking things out of context. Eric Duckman, mensrightsedmonton.com.
Just as a PS, Ryan, you kind of pissed me off. I don't like being erased, and that's exactly what you did. By claiming that the anger among men's activists happened to come from angry straight white men. As you can see, I'm not a man, and I'm not even straight, and I was pretty angry at your first video. And if Doug Brinkman hadn't closed the comments, my comments would have been the most critical, I would guess, on that video and what you had to say. So you can thank Doug for silencing a woman, and I'd like to thank you for making us invisible. Have a nice day.